What's up, and welcome to the Weekenders. Finally, this is the show. I can say this is the show where we talk about the biggest games of the weekend because we finally have football games. So, if you're new to the show, new to the channel, you've seen our previews, you've seen us talk football. Well, welcome because this is the first show since February where we will be talking about actual games, which is the point of the podcast. So glad that we're finally back here. Glad that we finally have real games to talk about. Uh, I'm Max, joined by Bobby and Lexi as always. Shout out Multiplicity Media, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. How you guys feeling about having like real games to watch?
Cannot be stated how excited I am.
After a long off season of realignment and just a whole bunch of other stuff, I'm so excited to get into some more football. Last week was a nice little appetizer. A friend of mine referred to it as the edamame of the college football season. Nothing to get pumped about, but you're happy to have it. You'll eat it if it's there. But this is a feast. This is like the fried rice at the start, so I'm pretty damn pumped.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting started right out of the gate with kind of a full weekend slate because this weekend is only college, no NFL. So you've got a Thursday night game, obviously Saturday, some Sunday game and a Monday game. So a full weekend of college football to start us off with. Let's do a couple of kind of like topics though before we get into the games. Looking right now at the Pac-12, I know they're a lot of this is the last year of the regular Pac-12. A lot of their future is sort of kind of being decided, but right now I don't think anything has changed with their future status. I know that as we're recording this, there's currently no update on whether or not Cal and Stanford will join the ACC. So right now, at least a few teams in the Pac-12 are still intact. So that's sort of the update. I guess we'll find out maybe in the near future if that changes. But I mean, we talked about it on the last show, or excuse me, the show before last, about sort of like the Pac-12 and what that could look like, or what the teams that are going to the ACC or supposedly going to the ACC might look like. But yeah, this is like the last year where things are as we know it, I guess, or normal. So there's going to be a million things that change next year. So buckle up, get ready for this kind of last ride.
Yeah. Realignment will be totally crazy. Pac-12, the Pac-12 just won't really exist, and if it does, it's not going to be a Power 5 status. And then bowls, I mean, that doesn't matter. New Year's Sixes don't exist because we'll have the expanded playoff. So yeah, last year of college football for real as we know it.
So tell me what you guys are looking forward to the most this year in college football. Alexa, you're on mute.
Like kind of just what Bobby was stating earlier, like this is the last year that it's going to be how we know college football as it is. So it's really just soaking in this entire season because it's going to be so different from here on out and it's never going to be like this again. So I think it's just relishing in like the fact that this is the last year of college football as we know it, right now. So I'm just excited for everything. And then, I naturally have to say if hopefully my team can make a run and win the national title.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously being an OU fan focused on the Sooners and their improvement, seeing if they can make a leap. But overall, I think it's just kind of soaking it all up. This last run through with traditions. I'm excited to see how it all unfolds and shakes out, which is a boring generic answer, I know, but I don't know. I feel like this is a season above all where a lot feels like it's set. Everyone feels like Georgia's the best team. I feel like everyone feels like Ohio State and Michigan are going to run the Big Ten as they always do. It's kind of the same usual players. So I'll tell you this. the thing I'm most excited for is to see what happens this year that completely shatters our expectations and thoughts about college football as a whole, because there's always something crazy that happens. Hell, TCU was in the college football playoff last year. Nobody saw that. They were in the national title. So I'm excited to see what crazy thing comes out of nowhere and surprises us all.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that. As people that make content, we all kind of want the most craziest things to happen. I'll say like the thing I'm most excited about, or the thing that I'm most excited to watch this season, is a lot of good quarterback play throughout the country. I mean, um, there we kind of came from a time where, you know, obviously some of the best teams, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, you know, they all kind of had like the premier quarterbacks. But as the years have gone on, we've seen more depth at the quarterback position and more teams just with like really solid guys. And so I think when you look at this year and next year, there's there's just a lot of great quarterback play in football. That's what everyone is the most excited about. If you have a good quarterback, then you can be excited about your team. And so um, that's what I'm always looking forward to. A lot of exciting players. Obviously, Caleb Williams is really exciting to watch. You got Jordan Travis, you got Jaden Daniels, you got you know, just so many Bo Nix, like so many dynamic athletes at the quarterback position, along with the guys that like, you know, are just great pocket passers, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., you know, those guys. So yeah, just great quarterback players that I'm looking forward to. And kind of like Lexi, like I think this is an awesome time to be a Michigan fan. It's probably the arguably the best Michigan team they've had. And as a North Carolina fan, like I'm kind of feeling like this the same optimism. Like this is the best quarterback we may ever have, the best, um, you know, our best shot at really making some noise in the ACC. So we'll see what happens. A lot of things to be excited about, I think, for a lot of teams, and that's kind of the beauty of the beginning of the season is like you have some reason for optimism, especially in college football, because you never know what's going to happen. Kind of like what Bobby said. But uh, anything else to add? Sorry.
No.
No? Okay. All right. All right. We're going to stake our claim right now before we get to the first games of week one. We're going to do it Desmond Howard style. Give us the top, your four CFP teams. We did the previews already, so some people that have been watching might know kind of where we're leaning. But right now, tell us the four teams that are going to be represented in the college football playoff. The last 14 playoff. Who wants
Well,
to
I
go
got to.
first?
I'll go ahead and go on this because this has been a tricky one. I've really kind of wrestled with this, but here's what I have. I have Georgia in the top seed. I just feel like their schedule cream puff. They'll run through the SEC. Next, I have Ohio State. That's going to be a tough one for them. You know, they have to go to Notre Dame, to Michigan, but I think they end up splitting that. I think they end up beating probably Notre Dame and losing to Michigan. Michigan, I just don't see. I don't see the Wolverines really, you know, being super challenged this season. Obviously, they have to go to Happy Valley. That's a toss up to me. So I really see those two teams having one loss, and then finally I have Clemson as coming out of the ACC. I've been one to kind of fade the Tigers here, but I'm really optimistic about the addition of Garrett Riley to that offense. Him and Cade Klubnik, I think, can put something really, really solid together. And yeah, that's where I have the Tigers. But yeah, that's my four. Might be garbage by the end of the season. We'll see, but that's college football for you.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. But yeah, Bobby's officially locking in Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson. Yeah, that's really not a bad four at all. Lex, you want to go next?
Yes. So I did say something a while ago, but it's changed. So I have Georgia as the top seed, Michigan, USC, and UNC. I am riding so high on your guys. So that's going to be coming out of the ACC. It's going to be great. Hell of a last year round for the college football 4-off team playoff.
Yeah, no, I really hope you're right. And yeah, I mean, like I said, this is like the best chance. I mean, North Carolina is not like a school that, I mean, they recruit well, but not a school where you like expect them to be like, okay, yeah, they're going to get another quarterback, especially as good as Drake May. Of course, we've had solid guys, Sam Howell, Mr. Trubisky, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to have possibly the best quarterback in the school history, you might as well go for it. So liking that. So I didn't think about this in a particular like seating order, but I do have Georgia as well. Well, actually, no, I'm going to change that. No, not, I'm going to change it. Sorry. Um, sorry. Okay, I do have Georgia as well. I'm sticking with Georgia. Yeah, too easy of a schedule. Like very hard for things to go wrong there. I don't think the quarterback situation is going to necessarily matter as much. So I like Georgia going to the playoff again, and then this is going to be tough, but I'm going to say, ooh, okay, yeah, yep, all right. I think somehow LSU gets there. Um, no, actually, changing it. Sorry, I didn't. My bad. I didn't prep this beforehand. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go a little left field here. I'm gonna say Georgia, Notre Dame makes it. Georgia, Notre Dame, um, Clemson, and I'm going to go in a shocker. I'm going to go Utah. Now, I really wanted to pick USC, and I really wanted to pick LSU. But I think I like LSU, but I feel like um, they have some tough games. I think this is probably going to be a year where um, like Georgia's going to be fine, but the rest of the SEC might cannibalize each other a little bit. As you guys know, I'm really high on Notre Dame. I mean, it was against Navy, but Sam Hartman looked phenomenal. He's 30 years old. I think his experience, the guys that Notre Dame have, especially on the offensive line, they're skill position players. I think Sam Hartman's going to do fine in that offense, and all Marcus Freeman has to do is make sure they play defense. Now Notre Dame's schedule is really brutal, so this might look crazy by midseason, but because of how hard their schedule is. But I think Notre Dame could be that team that upsets a lot of people, and I'm just really high. I mean, just watching Sam Hartman at Wake Forest, like I'm just really high on the guy, and I think this Notre Dame is sort of in that situation, like really good quarterback, really good defensive coach. Like I'm picking them as like my crazy pick. So Georgia, Notre Dame. I said Michigan, high on them as well, high on the roster. Really always been a fan of Jim Harbaugh. Um, Ohio State has a lot of talent, but with their matchup this year being in Michigan, I like JJ McCarthy. Um, we don't know anything. They just announced Kyle McCord is going to be the quarterback at Ohio State. Like we don't know much about him. I kind of trust what Michigan has a little bit more. So I'm um, I'm going with them to make it out of the Big Ten and into the playoff. And then my last team is Utah, Pac-12 champs. I feel like uh, it would be a shocker if they did not just like get cannibalized by the Pac-12. I think that's kind of the hardest thing about picking up any Pac-12 team. But they've had USC's number. Cam Rice is a good quarterback. Whittingham's a good coach. I think and people still don't respect them, honestly. So I think I'm going to take Utah as a shocker to make it. There's always like one crazy random team that does it, and I think Utah could be the one this year. So that's my four: Georgia, Michigan, Utah, Notre Dame.
I gotta say that Utah pick is a bold one because they have a schedule from hell at Oregon State, at USC, Oregon, at Washington. Whew. And then we're not even counting Florida in the home opener on Thursday,
Yeah.
and then at Baylor. Like that is a walk through coals. That's just a
Yeah.
walk through hell itself. So if you nail that one, man, that is an all time pick.
And you know what's funny though? Like if I'm right, like that's a great schedule. Like the community is going to be like, oh yeah, like how can Utah not get it if they win those games? So yeah, I mean, again, like I could look crazy by the middle of the season from both the Notre Dame and Utah standpoint, but I'm staking my claim. We'll see what happens, and we'll see who's the closest at the end of the year. But all right, let's get to the games, and for this week's show, um, we'll see kind of the timing wise. We kind of try to talk about between 4 and 6, but I decided to go with the biggest four of the weekend for this show. And we're going to kick it off with the Saturday noon game, Colorado at TCU. And yeah, I mean, this is a game where everyone's sort of hyping up Deion Sanders, bringing his guys from Jackson State. A lot of guys that were at Colorado obviously left. And we're going to see, Travis Hunter against and Shedeur Sanders and a lot of the guys that Deion brought over from Jackson State against Power Five competition, and see what's in the tank for Deion Sanders, but also TCU defending, defending national champion, runner up, whatever you want to call it. Supposed to be coming off a really big year. They are favored by 20.5. This is at TCU, over under 60.5. So, I mean, with all the Deion love, this is a really big spread, which might be justifiable, to be honest. But let's start with Colorado. What are just not even you can talk about the game, you can talk about the year. What are some reasonable expectations for Colorado, the Buffaloes? You're on mute.
Oh,
You're good. You got it. I got you.
Okay. But yeah, no, that being 500, that should be like their goal, because I don't even think they're going to make that. But to have an expectation to shoot for 500 with that schedule, I think would be decent for them. But it's not going to be too high over there in Boulder this year for me.
So just being 500,
yeah,
reasonable.
I think 500. I don't want to say it's too high because it's 500, but beating their win total, getting to 4 wins, I think would be very massive for a team that was not very good, experienced a ton of turnover, and frankly, Deion when he left, or when he came to Colorado, he said he's bringing his bags and they're Louis. Well, it's kind of a small Louis bag. So he brought some Louis, but let's be honest, he wasn't rolling out the suitcases. So it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get Colorado going. In this game, I don't know if you can really have expectations. Travis Hunter, great player. Shedeur Sanders, great player. I just think he's a little outmatched game-wise. Sonny Dykes, even though they did lose a lot of guys, they got the portal really well, bringing in Chandler Morris, a very, very good quarterback who actually people forget was named the starting quarterback, got hurt against Colorado last year, and Max Duggan came in. So I'm just saying, I think he's completely outmatched in this game. But as far as the full season goes, get a couple wins. They had 1 win last year, and it was against Cal at the last second. So bar is pretty low, but getting over that win total, getting to 4 wins, I think that would be a tremendous accomplishment. So that's what I would say would be a really good season for Deion in Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, Bobby, you said getting over the win total. 500 would be a great accomplishment. Like it does take time to turn over a program. Usually takes at a place like USC, Lincoln Riley is sort of the outlier because he came with a great quarterback and they were able to do some things kind of quickly. You already had some talent at USC, some veteran talent actually. So that quick of turnaround is unique. What's more common is the turnarounds that take 2-3 years in college football, and especially at a program like Colorado where you're also having to change the culture as well. Like that's you're not coming into a program that has a winning culture. You have to change a lot of things. So expectations for the season, yeah, I think just winning 5-6 games, being maybe a sneaky bowl game contender, getting a bowl game, like that'd be fantastic in year one for Dion and the Buffaloes. But in this game, just not I'll say for the expectations for this game for the Colorado against TCU for me are look like you belong there, like look like a competitive team. You're getting you're on the national stage. You're getting the noon kickoff treatment. Like, don't come out there and look like you're the inferior team, even though they are. Like, if you look like you belong, if you look like you're there. I think it'll be a smooth year for Colorado if they can have some good momentum, even if they lose. Which sort of leads me to my next question: like, what are you guys going to take away from the game if it's close, or if Colorado happens to pull off the miracle win? Like, what's the take there?
I mean, I don't think it'd be so much Colorado as wow, TCU is really falling off. I think that there should be no excuse that TCU even allows them to stay in this game whatsoever. I don't really. I think it might be what was the total on points? I think it might be under on points. I really do, but it's just still going to be TCU running. So if it's close, there's some big trouble down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the questions would be this team clearly didn't reload correctly or hasn't gelled with the guys that they brought in via the transfer portal. That would be a big thing would be TCU, but it would also be a massive credit to Dion and what he had together. And I think one would assume that if Colorado kept this close or won the game, that Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders had a massive, massive performance. So I think more than anything, it'd be like, wow, these guys are really, really, really good. And are just on a different level where they could carry it to that degree, where those stars were that good. But I also would say that it would show that Dion, even though for game one on the FBS level, can coach at that level and can prepare his guys. So I would say if that is the case, I mean, my gosh, massive accomplishment if you keep it competitive down the stretch. But we'll see.
Yeah. It should be a fun game. I like that. It's a fun start to the Saturday. Good vibes with both teams. Wanting to. I think for TCU, like you want to get over the stink of last year, and you have a reasonably easy opponent to, get your year started off with to refocus on the rest of the season. For Colorado, it's a test to see, okay, how good are we? Where are we at? And where's this program going? So, good matchup. The spread is 20.5, like I said. We all are picking TCU. Bobby is confident on the minus 20.5 in their prediction. I think I have to agree, but I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna be humble and just say TCU is gonna win.
I thought we were picking spreads on the document, but yeah, no, I feel great about TCU minus 20.5.
Yeah,
I think they're a better team across the board. Also, it's going to be 100 degrees, a little bit hotter than your standard Boulder, your standard Boulder Saturday. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, that should be a really fun game. All right. Um, next game in chronological order uh, will be the college game day game in Charlotte, North Carolina versus South Carolina, 7:30 Eastern. Like I said, getting the game day treatment. UNC's favored by 2.5. Um, the over under is 64.5. So starting with the kind of biggest storyline from this game, and that's Tez Walker. He's a guy that is, supposed to be the best wide receiver for North Carolina. Um, NFL guy, supposed to be a guy that completely, according to the reports, completely changes their offense when he's there. He's been practicing up to this point, but um, the latest news is that the NCAA has still not cleared him. Now, Mac Brown in a press conference said that there was you know, uh, still parts of the process that needed to be done, but he's still been practicing up to this point. Uh, recording this on Tuesday, the week of the game. He's still been practicing up to this point, and I've seen some reports that he may not know if he's going to play up until Saturday of the game. So, uh, you know, like the NCAA, we talked about this a couple weeks ago in the ACC preview. Like, this is complete madness. No need to really rehash the whole situation, but it really is a shame that they've overcorrected so much on this rule um, about the transfer portal, and for him, like, it doesn't even really apply because of his situation. And so um, that's, I was checking, Twitter and everything up until the show. Wish I had better news than that, but as of right now, we don't know if he's going to play or not. But hopefully, he does play. Everyone's been really supportive of this, from obviously the North Carolina side, um, and the governor reached out, and even South Carolina coach Shane Beamer said himself it would be a shame if he didn't get to play. Obviously, you want your best players out there uh, from both sides, right? From your opponent and from the team. So, yeah, nothing new to report now. But all I can say, obviously, as a fan, hope he plays. But I will say this: I think if he doesn't play, I think this is a situation that, as a fan, and from two perspectives, as a UNC fan and as an NFL scout, like, I'm not an NFL scout, but NFL scouts will be watching this game. If he plays, great. Like, that's gonna be helpful. Hope they win the game, right? From a fan perspective. But if he doesn't, you want to see Drake May, who people are saying, is very close, second behind Caleb Williams, same tier, great quarterback, all this, all that. You want to see him still play well and still make things happen without the best receiver. That's a tall task, but that happens. Like, great players rise above situations. So as a fan, if Tez Walker doesn't play, I'm hoping for that. But obviously, NFL scouts will also be watching. All right, the guy doesn't have the best weapon. Like, what can he do? What does he make happen? And I'll say this: like, UNC's supposedly a part of the transition from the transition of offensive coordinators was getting the running game better. The tight ends are you brought back really good tight ends who hopefully fixed and made the offense more balanced. So I think from a lot of perspectives, like, this feels a little bit better than if, let's say, you didn't have Josh Downs last year, because the offense was so one sided and it was just about passing, and Drake May was leading the team in rushing yards, and it was not good. But this year, you hate the news that you don't have the best guy out there, but the hope is that the offense is more balanced and you hope he plays. But if he doesn't, there's going to be a lot of things that people are going to be looking for and watching for. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Nothing has changed in that situation up to this point. Um, so with that said, my question to you guys is: we know about Drake May, but also there's a quarterback on the other side of the South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, who has said he gained a lot of confidence from their stretch last year, and who is still, I'm sure, has dreams of playing in the NFL. And a good year this year would help that go a long way. Um, so, what do you guys think? Which quarterback is going to have more pressure on Saturday?
In terms of pressure, absolutely Drake May. Because he's the guy who, I mean, again, on tier with Caleb Williams, Heisman winner. That is a lofty expectation, without a doubt. If he doesn't look good in this, with all eyes on him, and I'm not sure how many games will UNC will have in the primetime like slot, because I feel like the ACC gets slept on a little bit. So this is really his time to step up. Last time we saw him in Charlotte in a big game, UNC looked awful. No offense to bring back the bad times of the ACC championship last year, but just being honest. So this is a chance for him to step up, put on a show. Um, Spencer Rattler, on the other hand, you know, this is a guy who I think by most people's metrics is kind of a failure. People thought of him as, number one, quarterback prospect at Oklahoma. His last year there where, people were talking about him going number one in that next year's draft. Obviously didn't work out. So for me, this is an opportunity for him to show that he can still be that guy, to be, a legitimate NFL quarterback. This is his stage. At the same time, no pressure because people already think he's a bust. People already think he's not good. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity, but also like a little bit of a low amount of pressure as well. So I would say May biggest amount of pressure, but Rattler biggest opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Bobby across the board there. Drake May wants to get that loss out of his mind that happened in Charlotte last time. It's his hometown, so it's also like, you want to put on this, great show against South Carolina in your hometown. So I do think there's the most pressure on him. But, Spencer Rattler has always kind of had the chip on his shoulder, too, and he's always been, you would say, like, I guess, kind of a failure along what he's done so far. But he's does have a great opportunity, but like Bobby said, that pressure is going to be hot on Drake May. So got to come through for me and win.
Well, I mean, it's almost like they had like the end of last year for those two was like completely different. Like South Carolina put together some really impressive wins down the stretch. They beat Clemson. I think they beat Tennessee. And you could put that to a lot of things, but Spencer Rattler towards the end looked really great, whereas UNC lost a lot of games they shouldn't have. I think Clemson was better the entire year. I wasn't really too disappointed in that loss. I was just more disappointed in the way they lost more than the loss. But yeah, I mean, Drake. A lot of people were saying towards the end of that year they, had him, figured out, and I think it was more so of what I mentioned earlier of the lack of balance in the offense than people figuring him out. I think that the UNC just did not have a good running game to speak of, and it got the offense became very much focused on Josh Downs instead of spreading it out to different receivers. So that presented some issues, and there was some like random like breaks like that should have went down. But in the Holiday Bowl, I think the offense looked a lot better, and that's even though the Tigers lost the game. Like in the Holiday Bowl, that's kind of more what you wanted to see out of the offense than what you saw up until that point. And so, yeah, they're completely different trains, uh, or I should say, completely different trajectories. Like South Carolina has a lot to be excited about coming off last year. UNC is more of like, all right, we got something to prove because last year ended terribly with those losses and everything like that. So I would definitely say that Drake May's got more pressure, um, and the pressure is even going to be greater if you don't have your best receiver out there with you. Um, and for Rattler, like I don't know what his NFL prospects look like, even if he has a really good year, because there's like we talked about so many good quarterbacks coming out this year. But I'm sure he wants to play well too, especially like you kind of mentioned it, Bobby, primetime slot. You know, ACC teams might not get a lot of love, but South Carolina, like this might be their only game in primetime. So unless they have like a phenomenal year, but yeah, I think both guys want to show out. All right, let's get down to the keys to victory for both teams. Um, Bobby, why don't you give us the keys to victory for South Carolina?
Right. So the Gamecocks, I think for them, they have to, really kind of come out early, be physical. You have that kind of SEC level of physicality. And I think for me, that's what they need to just start out with. Make UNC feel that pressure, make them feel the heat of, hey, this is our moment. Drake May, you need to show up, show out. And make them one dimensional. You need to make them, this is the first game for their new OC. I'm blanking on his name right now. He was UCF's. So I think his first name's Chip. I could be wrong. But yeah, you really have to put the pressure on him to both be creative and not just be the one dimensional offense that you don't want them to be the Drake May team. You need them to be better than that. And with the amount of weapons UNC has, they're going to have to get creative, figure it out, and figure it out early. And I think to me, applying pressure, hitting May early, making them feel the heat. I think that's what South Carolina's got to do.
Chip Lindsey is the offensive coordinator. You had it. You had it there. Okay, Lexi, the newest UNC fan, give us the keys to victory for them.
I think it's going to be focusing and strengthening their run game. So Drake's got the arm. He's going to get it in the air, but South Carolina is going to be pressuring him pretty quickly. So I think in order to kind of control this game and get in there is to be on the run. So with the running backs they got, I think that shouldn't be a problem, but that's got to be a strength, in my opinion, to beat South Carolina.
Yeah, I think like you have to win at the line of scrimmage. Like you have to be physical on both sides, pressure the quarterback, make Spencer Rattler feel uncomfortable from the defensive side, but on the offensive side, like establish a running game. You cannot have another year where Drake May is the leading running rusher on the team. Like you have to like seriously like take some pressure off of him, get the running game established, and then the rest should be easy. That's the keys to victory, at least for UNC. So yeah, it should be a really fun game. So yeah, we all kind of. I have UNC winning. I think if Tez Walker if he plays, I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to want to show out. He's going to want to show everybody why he was so adamant in coming to UNC and playing in front of the home crowd. So I'm excited for that. And if he doesn't play, I think that it's going to be a tougher game. But I still am trusting that UNC has figured out how to balance, how to play a balanced football game. And, I'm picking the better quarterback as well. And I can't pick it against my guys here. I think crowd-wise, probably be 50-50. I'm thinking there might be some more UNC fan support. And also, I don't want to, like, harp too much on this because it really is a sad situation, but UNC is going through a lot. School shooting happened yesterday. Like it's a very tough thing to like go play a football game after. So I think emotionally, like they're going to be really trying to go out and win this game. So I got UNC. Bobby, you're taking SC plus 2.5. I'm not going to argue with that. to be honest with you, you can go ahead and elaborate if you want.
Yeah, I feel like UNC. Everyone sees Drake May coming back, and they kind of think they're going to have a lot of the same. They think there will be a lot more consistency there, but losing Phil Longo, massive hit. Losing some of those offensive weapons, massive hits as well. Game one, getting challenged like this, you kind of need time to gel with new portal additions like Tez Walker, like we mentioned, if he even plays. And to me, I feel like there's just too much change. For me to feel super comfortable. I think South Carolina obviously riding a massive high after the end of last year. We'll ignore the Gator Bowl. But I feel like South Carolina, more physical team. That gave UNC a lot of troubles last year when it came to that Clemson game. And to me, I think they just edge out there. It's going to be a close, really, really good game. But I have South Carolina taking this one.
Yeah. And then Lexi, you got UNC as well.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be them in the end.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Looking forward to a really good game there as well. A lot of eyes on that one, and a lot of eyes on this next one we're going to talk about, which is LSU and Florida State in Orlando. Their spread is also 2.5. In favor of LSU, over under a 58.5. Yeah, which one of these teams has more pressure? Is it LSU or Florida State?
It's got to be LSU. Got to be LSU in my mind. That's because they play an SEC West schedule. I'll put it this way: Alabama, great team last year, lost 2 games like very narrowly. Bryce Young was not on the field when those Alabama teams lost. Right, 2 losses out of the playoff. Probably one of the best 4 if you're really looking at team quality. And that's because the margin of error in the SEC West is that narrow. It's that thin. And to me, if you go ahead and lose one of your games this early, in the non-conference, even though to me, I think that's a mulligan. That I think if you lose to Florida State, that's nothing to hang your hat on. Your season's not over. You can still make the playoff. It gives you such an even thinner margin of error for LSU. And we kind of saw it a little last year when they lost to this same Florida State team in that crazy dramatic ending in the Superdome. Kind of hampered them last year. LSU has to win this game if they want to bolster that resume, make a playoff run, because otherwise they just would have to be really, really perfect to get into the playoff.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Brian Kelly wants to capitalize off of that Alabama win last year too. So I think it's going to be the pressure of, like you said, the margin of error is so small, and so that he can't lose this game. Like I know you said it doesn't affect it, but I feel like it's going to, because it's going to all be that close in the end for this last 4-team playoff. But Brian Kelly, LSU, definitely going to feel the heat. I do think that Florida State is going to have some pressure as well, especially because it's in Orlando this time and in Florida. But I just, with SEC, Brian Kelly taking over this LSU squad, that being the talk of everything and what he's going to do with the program, that it definitely puts more heat on him.
I'm going to disagree. I think Florida State has more pressure on them because this is a year where you came off a really good back end of your season, and now you have to back it up. You have people with high expectations because it's Florida State, and Florida State is one of those glamour programs that as soon as they start winning, everyone's like rushing to crown them. And so you have that going on, and you have a year now where there are no divisions in the ACC. And so if you're Florida State, you are trying to, your goal is to go to the ACC championship. To the college football playoff, but you've got Clemson coming up in a couple weeks. And so the last thing you want to do is go 0-2 against Clemson and LSU. And at least in this game, you're in a neutral field. At Clemson, you're going to the Death Valley. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Florida State because, you got to win one of those games if you want to have, higher aspirations than just, going to the ACC championship, which is not even guaranteed if you lose to LSU and Clemson. So I think there's a lot of pressure to prove what you were last year was legitimate for Mike Norvell. You've got NFL guy and Jared Verse on defense. You got a veteran quarterback in Jordan Travis. I think there's an immense amount of pressure on him as well because this is probably the last year for him. And he's been there for a while and seen a lot of losing at Florida State. So, to me, Florida State has a lot of pressure. LSU, I think I understand that answer, and I don't necessarily like. I could make an argument for LSU as well, but yeah, Florida State's to me has got a little bit more pressure this year. This year and in this game. All right, talking QBs again. This time, which QB would you rather have for 1 year? Jordan Travis or Jaden Daniels?
I'm gonna take Jaden Daniels. He's scrappy. I like it. I kind of liked his game. Last year mimicked a lot his first year too. So I'm taking him.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I love both of them. I'm gonna go with Jordan Travis though. I just feel like as a quarterback, he just clicks a little bit more to me. I don't know why. I will say the 1 year element to that's tricky. That makes me kind of want to think of Jaden Daniels a little bit because if you're going for a 1 year, going for a little bit of a wild card, you never know what can happen. So I'll say for 1 year, Jaden Daniels. For a program, Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I think Jordan Travis is. I mean, they're both good kids. I think Jordan Travis is a good kid for like a program, like you mentioned. For 1 year, I'm probably taking Daniels. I feel like Travis is. I mean, they're both exceptional athletes. I feel like I kind of like what Jaden Daniels brings to the table as a passer a bit more. Travis is really good at like that scrappy backyard football type play. Like he is so good at just like making things happen out of broken plays, out of nothing. Like it really like it's hurt me to watch sometimes him on the other side of the field make things happen. But big fans of both guys. I think I'm taking Jaden in a slight edge for a year. Okay, we're going keys to victory now for both teams. Why don't you take Florida State, Bobby?
Right. Wow. I think this one's going to be interesting for me. I think Florida State has to, kind of offensively be in control, be steady. That LSU defense is going to be coming really hard at you. And I think to me, being strong, keeping your head cool in that pressure, very important. Travis has to be very, very, very smooth, avoid turnovers, because look, here's the thing about LSU fans: if you've never run into them, they're loud. They're loud as hell, and they'll get you rattled. And I'll tell you what, they'll be rolling out to Camping World Stadium in Orlando, regardless. So to me, just keeping that composure, Travis avoiding turnovers, avoiding mistakes, that is absolutely key. Looking like the well-oiled machine you were at the end of last season, continuing that momentum, that's the key for Florida State.
Bobby, real quick, what hat do you have on? I thought it was the Dolphins all this time, and then I'm like, I can't tell. Okay.
Oh no, this is the flag of the state Oklahoma. So yeah, it's a little Osage shield.
For this whole time, like I thought it was the Dolphins. And then I was like watching you talking. I was like, "That's not a dolphin. That's just like I can't tell what it was." It's a leaf. It's not the Miami Dolphins.
There
Oh,
you go.
nice,
Yeah,
A little better
nice,
look,
nice,
pretty
yeah.
nice.
cute.
Okay, okay. Lexi, can you see victory for LSU?
Yeah, so I think there's two major things here. Obviously, Jaden airing out the ball. That's going to be their key to win a lot of victories because he's just really good and they got a lot of talent on their roster. The second thing is the offensive line. You know, you got to win in the trenches. I know that LSU slipped up early last season and kind of struggled with just being consistent and protecting him. So it's going to be the biggest thing is just protecting and winning in the trenches on that for them. So
Yeah. Um, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just say my prediction. I have LSU winning. I think LSU wins and covers the 2.5. The key to victory for LSU to me is going to be coaching. I think Brian Kelly's like Mike Norvell is a good coach, but I think Brian Kelly is going to do what he's done to so many coaches and like just coach circles around Mike Norvell. To be honest, like I think obviously Daniel's going to have to play a clean game. They're going to have to make sure that Jared Verse has a very quiet afternoon, um, and make sure that they protect well because he's going to cause havoc in the backfield if they can't protect him. They can't run the ball. Um, but I think this is going to have to just be like Brian Kelly with all with so much time to prepare. Like I just have a lot of confidence in him being able to figure out a good game plan for LSU to dominate. And then they have like they just played last year too, which is like crazy. So um, I think they're going to be able to draw a lot from that. Um, year two with under Brian Kelly's system, I think LSU is in a good position to win and cover their 2.5 points, which they can do with a field goal. So it's not hard to do that. So anyway, uh, Bobby, you taking FSU plus 2.5?
Yeah, I like the Seminoles here. I think it's going to be a really good game. This is the toughest game for me to pick. If I didn't have to pick, I would just sit back and enjoy and watch it because these teams are evenly matched, as we saw last year. LSU made that crazy rally, but you know what got them? Attention to detail. Completely screwed up on that extra point to tie the game. I believe tie the game or win the game. It was to tie the game. They completely botched it. And to me, I'm feeling Florida State a little bit. I feel like people are overhyping LSU a little because of what we saw, in that Alabama game. You know, they looked great, but they had deficiencies. They had issues where they didn't look completely there. And I think they'll be improved, but I think Florida State just a different level above them. So I'm going to go with the Seminoles here.
So I'm kind of actually opposite. I think Florida State is being hyped up like crazy, and I'm trying to kind of figure out why. But I know who knows what will happen. But I got LSU in this game. I think that it's just going to they're going to come out hot and pick up with how they ended last season. So LSU for the win.
Alrighty. Our last game, a Monday nighter, another ACC battle. We'll talk about Clemson at Duke. Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Clemson with the 12.5 spread. This will be an interesting game because I think a lot of NFL draft folks will be looking at Riley Leonard, the Duke quarterback, who kind of like helped them be as successful as they were last year, along with their new head coach. You also have on the other side, obviously, the first year one fully for Clemson under Cade Klubnik. So you had a good quarterback battle. Obviously, this is a year where people feel like Clemson can kind of plant their flag and be back or whatever. And Duke, you know, not the hardest environment to play in. especially for a football team. So, should be a nice warm up for Clemson if they are the team that people think they are. But yeah, Duke is probably going to be their toughest team in years. They were tough out last year, so not necessarily a sleeper, definitely a game to watch in the ACC or nationally. It's on Monday Night Football. Um, so, uh, yeah, what's the ceiling for the Blue Devils this year? Or even we could say ceiling, or even like going back to the Colorado question, like reasonable expectations coming off of a 8-win season, I think. Um, I can look it up real quick.
They went 9-4.
Yeah, nine. Yeah, there we go. 9-win season last year. So
Yeah.
ceiling going into this year. Same.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
when we talked about them, I was just even thinking for them to just repeat what they did would be good expectations, just because their schedule's pretty tough too. So to just kind of come out with 8 or 9 wins again would be great.
Yeah, I think being on that same level or even just a little bit above it, honestly, because last year's schedule was awful. Awful. They were 9-4, but also most of their wins were against Cupcakes, and also one of those 4 losses was to Kansas, who admittedly was much improved, but come on. So to me, I feel like staying in that same level, making a solid bowl, just continuing that momentum of building the program. Progress isn't linear. And to me, I think, competing against a way, way, way tougher schedule would be a really big win for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I think this is sort of the same dynamic we have with Colorado TCU, except Duke is a little bit better. So it's like, all right, Duke, if this game is competitive, you cover the 12 and a half, you play them tough, then it shows a lot about where Duke is at. And then Clemson, it's like, they take care of business. It kind of shows everybody, well, you beat a team in Duke that was tough last year with an NFL potential quarterback. Duke Clemson's ready to roll. So kind of one of those dynamics similar to TCU and Colorado. Keys to victory. Let's go. Lexi, I'll let you take Clemson.
Pounding the ball, running the ball, because the Duke's defense last year was one of, I think, the worst. And their run defense gave up a lot of yards. So I think just for Clemson, and the key to winning is going to be on the ground and just pound it down their throats all game.
Oh yeah.
So for Duke, yeah, a natural assumption to make there. So for Duke, if you want to stay in this game, you have to keep Cade Klubnik and that Garrett Riley offense off the field. Not enough. I feel like this is kind of the most slept on thing in college football, what happened this offseason. Clemson getting Garrett Riley, a offensive coordinator that did absolute wonders at TCU, obviously comes from a great lineage with his brother Lincoln out in Southern Cal. Bringing that in is going to be so massive for Clemson. And if he can install it with a guy like Klubnik, who was absolutely elite at times last year. There's no telling what this Clemson team can do. I have them in my playoff. I'm pretty optimistic about it. So if Duke can keep that offense, keep that Ferrari in the garage, I think they'll be pretty good. I think they could keep it close, scrap it out, see what happens, maybe cause a mistake or two, but they're going to have to keep that offense off the field. So slow pace game, that type of thing. Turn it into a mud fight.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because Duke is not like sneaking up on anyone anymore. So like that's the thing about having a good year. Like, okay, now people know the quarterback's good. Now people know the team's good, the coach is good. People have off season to watch your tape, and I don't ever look at like Dabo Sweeney as like this like quarterback stopper or this like master strategist, but I think he'll have his team ready to like go out and fight. And so I think Clemson, you just have to, play tough, show who you are. Don't let Duke think they have a chance in the game. Um, and then for Duke, I think it'll be just more of like find opportunities to run the ball, keep it away from Clemson, but also find opportunities to let your quarterback uh, feel confident, play his way, keep pressure off of him, and I think that's kind of how Duke can keep stay in this one. Um, all right, predictions. I think Duke, I like Clemson. To me, there's times when they look like the best team in the country, and I think there's other times where they sort of can be like look a little bit off or look like they're not prepared. I think with so much on their mind, Florida State in a couple weeks. You have everything that happened last year, including um, the game that lost to South Carolina. Like, I think this could be a game where they may be a little bit overconfident and underprepared, and Duke could just be really, really like eager to, show that they are like they what last year was like for real. And you're again, I said in the beginning, Duke's their stadium is not a hard place to play, but Monday night, you get the fans down there. Um, after class, like it's not a bad environment. It's not a bad environment for you to come out and and show up and be loud and give the Clemson Tigers some problems. So for all those reasons, they got a good quarterback. Um, they're trying to turn that program around. Like I feel like Clemson will win the game, no problem. But I do think that Duke covers. So that's my pick for the game. I think Duke is going to cover the 12.5 spread, but Clemson's going to take home the dub. Bobby, you got Clemson plus 12.5. Did you mean minus or?
I meant minus. Yeah, no.
Okay.
The odds on Clemson plus 12.5 had to have been just like would have been bad. No one would offer that. But yeah, no, I got Clemson. I think they're gonna show up ready to roll, and I feel like we've seen this in the past. Last year, I think they opened with Georgia Tech. Started a little slow, but they turned on the gas. They turned on just completely stepped it up to the next level, and got that cover. So to me, I don't see Duke holding them off for a full 4 quarters.
Yeah, I got Clemson minus 12.5. I think it's going to be a good game for Clemson to come out strong and really kind of bury it early.
All right. So those are the games. Some good ones to start off the week of football. And now we're going to get to the last part of the show, which is lock of the week. So if you've been watching us since last year, we did a version of this that was a little bit different. And I'm going to explain the rules for this year so you guys know how this is going to go down. You can also try to post them on social media so folks kind of know and can keep track of everything. But lock of the week. So we talk about the games, we made predictions, but every week we're going to have one lock. Like this is the one that's like, this is your baby, your pick. You know what's going to happen. And for every lock of the week you get correct, if you pick one of the games that we talk about on the show and you get it correct, you get 2 points the next week. Now, you don't have to pick one of the games we talked about. You can pick any game. And when we get to the NFL, like that'll apply for college and NFL. So if you want to pick ECU at Michigan or USC at Nevada this week, go ahead. No one's going to stop you. But instead of getting the 2 points you would get for picking a game we talked about, you'll just get 1 point. So 1 point for any game we don't talk about, 2 points for the games we talk about, and of course, a incorrect pick is 0 points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year will win. Will be the lock of the week champions. Um, and maybe one day in this process, we'll come up with some like fun punishments for like the one person that doesn't get any lock right, like the one person that like misses like both. But we'll figure that out later. For right now, you got a chance to win 2 points or 1 point, starting with this week, and we're all. I'm glad to say we're all picking games we talked about this week. For me, for my lock of the week, I got Clemson straight up money line, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I just think that's they're going into a tough Duke environment. They're going against a really good team, but I would be shocked if if Clemson lost that game. They had too much to play for. You got a whole offseason to prepare for Duke, for the quarterback, for everything they're going to do. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Duke played Clemson close, but I do think Clemson wins the game. So I'm thinking Clemson straight up as my lock of the week this week. Bobby, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in, and since there's no points for going with the extra points for going with the spread, easy lock. Give me TCU straight up. Dion and crew, they are not ready. They are not ready to face the Frogs yet. It would be an absolute miracle if they won that game. TCU, I think, has a hell of a coach. They'll be ready because look, you can't be Deion Sanders and be slept on. Nobody sleeps on Deion Sanders, no matter how bad the team was last year. TCU is going to show up motivated. They're going to at least get the win. I feel great about the spread, but why pick the spread when I could take an ML? So give me my 2 points. I'm going to cash it in now. Yeah, Frogs, big.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, for future locks of the week, like, you're totally allowed to pick the spread. You can pick over-unders. Same as last year. You can pick the game straight up. You can pick the spread. You can pick over-under. Sometimes it's easier to pick the spread or the over-under than picking the actual game. So you're allowed to do that. The only difference is you will get more points for picking the games we talk about versus the games we don't. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
That you can pick whatever you want. Lexi, what's your lock? Oh, go ahead, Bobby. Yeah, finish your thought.
I was gonna say, and usually these games will have tighter spreads. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get the minus 20.5 point spread when I can take the ML on it. So
Yeah. All right, Lexi, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under for the TCU Colorado game. It's at 60 and a half, but I just don't think that there's any way that they get near that. Mostly on Colorado's end, but yeah, under on that I'm taking.
That's bold. I wanted to do like an over-under pick, but it's so hard doing that going into week one. It's like you don't even know, like, you can guess what the offenses and defenses look like, but you don't know yet. So that's bold. That's definitely a bold one. But all right, cool. So yeah, those are the locks of the week. I'm taking Clemson straight up. Bobby's taking TCU straight up. Lexi's got the under on TCU and Colorado. And that's our show. First show we're talking about games this year. So excited about the season. So excited to watch the football finally on the college level. NFL will be coming right up soon after that. And don't forget to keep watching us, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And we'll see you again next week to do it all again.